Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. AITA for refusing to go with my 16-year-old daughter to her father's funeral. My ex-husband, who also happened to be the father of my child, died 2 days ago at the age of 58, 36. In order to accompany her to the funeral, my 16-year-old daughter requested me to accompany her since she didn't know anybody and needed my support and advice, which I was happy to offer. The reason for my choice was that I didn't feel comfortable coming and then seeing my ex-in-laws. Simply, it's not worth the anguish. Plus, her grandparents and younger uncle, whom she loves, would be there, so that was sufficient reason for me to decline. I even offered to have my brother pick her up and take her there and back, but she refused, pleading with me to accompany her on her trip. I finally gave up and left her alone. My response was a firm no, with the explanation that I had good reasons for declining, and that was the end of the discussion. Earlier this week, my ex-girlfriend threw a fit, accusing me of being ungrateful and self-centered, as well as claiming that my hate for her father was still there and nasty. My sentiments had been profoundly wounded, so I approached her and engaged in a struggle with her, refusing to punish her for what she called me since she was mourning and processing the loss of her father at the time of the confrontation. It was only that I put an end to the quarrel and escorted her upstairs. She returned to her room and made it clear that she would not be joining anybody else for lunch or supper that day. Although my spouse made many attempts to keep her company and get her to eat, she was uncooperative. This, the doctor said, is something my daughter is clearly struggling with, and that I should just attend my daughter's funeral ceremony, since she would feel resentful for the rest of her life if I did not do so. In spite of my best efforts, I was unable to sleep as a consequence of what had occurred. Right now, I don't think I should simply go along with what she wants without questioning it. Regardless of the circumstances, I will never compel her to do anything she does not want to do. Edit. For those who feel I'm meeting with a girlfriend I don't want to see, please understand that this is not the case. In the years after our divorce, my ex-husband never dated again since he was suffering from a variety of chronic illnesses, which was the primary reason for our separation. Because my daughter was adamant that we not divorce, she took it personally when the court gave me custody because her father was unable to care for her. She then accused me of abandoning her. Although I dislike my ex-husband, he is the father of my kid, and losing him would be heartbreaking for me. For this reason, I want the opportunity to grieve in peace with my family. My in-laws dislike me and accuse me of abandoning their son by starting the divorce process in the first place, which they believe is untrue. Story 2. AITA for calling out sister's BF for potentially poisoning my BF. Yesterday a 25-year-old female, offered to prepare Christmas dinner for my family, and they graciously accepted my offer of assistance. Considering the fact that my parents are growing older, I'd feel terrible if I simply sat back and let them take care of everything. The fact that my partner, a 32-year-old male, suffers from celiac disease makes our situation more difficult to manage. When it comes to preparing for 2 people, I'm used to making sure that everything is nutritional and gluten-free for everyone who will be eating the meal. Vegetarian/vegan diets are followed by my whole family. The relationship between my sister, 20 female, and her boyfriend, 21 male, started recently after a few months of wooing. Due to his lack of harmony with his family at home, we offered him to spend the Christmas season with us. We'd never met him before, and he piqued our interest right away. After that, my sister called to tell me that her boyfriend had been grumbling about being forced to eat a meat and gluten-free supper only a few days before Christmas, and she wanted me to know about it. I told her that he was welcome to bring anything he wanted for himself, and that I would be pleased to prepare it for him, but that he should refrain from bringing anything that contained gluten since it may make my girlfriend quite ill if she consumed it. Whatever the case, fast forward to yesterday, when I first prepared the duck he brought with him before putting it aside to rest. While I was talking to him, he was gazing over my shoulder and giggling, commenting on how it must be strange to go against my convictions. Asked if I had any concerns, I told him that I didn't and that I used to prepare some meat for my boyfriend before he became vegetarian, as long as he paid for it himself. He was pleased with my response. He comes back into the kitchen and complains about how long the dinner is taking and how hungry he is. This is the most stressful part of the meal for me. He also asks for some of my duck, which I grudgingly agree to give him. I was visibly upset since it was the worst possible moment, but I kept my mouth shut and carried on with my life. When I saw that he had placed the duck in a little bait, I realized he was getting ready to leave the house. Upon being questioned about the source of the item, he said that he had brought it with him. He had left behind a trail of crumbs, so I went around the kitchen cleaning up anything that hadn't been covered in plastic wrap and tossing it out the back door. Because my spouse was not diagnosed with celiac disease until his late 20s, and because his digestive system is in such poor shape, I was terrified and on the verge of tears when I learned of his diagnosis. If he has another gluten reaction, they have warned him that he might wind up in the hospital and need the use of a stoma bag for the rest of his life. We eventually settled down to eat, and everyone in my family expresses their appreciation to me for putting together the lunch for them. My sister's boyfriend enters the scene, stating that he was there to assist with the preparations for the wedding. I really apologize for saying this, but I absolutely lost it. As a result of bringing gluten into the kitchen, he not only failed to assist, but he also put my spouse's health in danger. I made sure that everyone was aware of his behavior, especially my sister, who had no clue he brought the bread with him until he described what had happened. He refused to take responsibility and claimed that he didn't understand the nature of the situation, which led in his being reprimanded by my mother and father for his behavior. He completed his lunch, excused himself, and went to my sister's room to spend the remainder of the evening with her and her friends. As far as I'm concerned, I'm being punished for yelling at him in front of everyone, particularly considering the fact that he left home this morning and told my sister that he didn't feel comfortable here. So, Ada, you decided to become a member of the Reddit community update. Hello, everyone, here is an update. I merely wanted to provide you with an update. I hope you don't mind, admins, and ask for your approval. Thank you so much for your support and for the gifts. It was wonderful to see so many kind people in the comments section. There are some good news and some bad news to report. The good news is that he is now my sister's ex-husband, which is fantastic. The next day, they had an epic phone battle during which he disclosed that dietary restrictions are for attention seekers, and that vegans, in particular, are. Then he confessed to secretly providing my sister with meat products throughout their relationship, swapping fake meat nuggets for chicken, using meat broth instead of vegetable stock, and so on, and chuckled when I pointed out that she hadn't been a vegetarian for the entire 5 months of their relationship. She's been a vegetarian since birth. The fact that he disclosed his true colors so early in the relationship surprised us all, but we were appreciative for his honesty. It's been a few months since the incident occurred, and my sister is doing much better. Our whole group gathered around her, as she was more unhappy than she could have imagined. She's relieved to learn that the stomach problems she was having at the time were most likely caused by the introduction of new foods into her diet, rather than by a medical condition that needed to be treated. She was worried she might have early-onset celiac after comparing her symptoms to my partner. As far as I can tell, she hasn't had any stomach problems since they separated. For those who are curious as to why he isn't closer to his family, it seems that the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, since his parents sound nasty, which is one of the reasons we all felt bad for him at the beginning. Anyway, once again, thank you very much to everyone.